Martin Luther King Jr. by Maddie Jovanovic
and Grace Tenhera. Martin Luther was born on January 15th, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia.
Martin Luther King Jr. went to college when he was 15 years old. Martin Luther King Jr. skipped 9th and 12th grades. Martin Luther King Jr. went to college at Morehouse College and received a bachelor's degree in sociology.
Martin Luther married Coletta Scott in 1953. They had 4 children: Yolanda, Martin Luther King Jr. III, Dexter, and Bernice.
Between 1958 and 1967, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was arrested 29 times for demonstrating nonviolent protest against segregation. During his imprisonment, he wrote letters from Birmingham jail, which became the manifesto of the civil rights movement.
The time is always right to do something right. Martin Luther King Jr.
Martin Luther King Jr. gave his speech on May 17, 1957. There were between 250,000 people at his speech. The official name for his speech was March on Washington for the Jobs of Freedom.
On June 23, 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. led a freedom walk in Detroit, Michigan. 125,000 took part in the walk. On August 28, 1963, at an historic march in Washington, D.C. for jobs, freedom, and racial equality and the end of discrimination, Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his I Have a Dream speech on October 14, 1964. Martin Luther King Jr. became the youngest man at age 35 to receive a Nobel Peace Prize for combating racial equality through nonviolence.
In March 1967, Martin Luther King Jr. made a decision that may cost him his life. At 6:01, a single shot from a high-powered rifle cracked through the air. The bullet tore into the right side of his face. It wasn't until April 19th that investigators identified fingerprints on the gun thought to be the murder weapon. It was James Earl Ray, not Eric S.
In 1963, he was named the Man of the Year in Time magazine. King's last public speech foretold his death. In his effort to fight segregation and equality, King traveled more than 6 million miles and spoke more than 2,500 times.
I have a dream that my 4 children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Martin Luther King Jr.
Martin Luther King Jr. was a leader in the civil rights movement in the late 1950s through the late 1960s. Martin Luther King Jr. was a strong person. He believed that there was peace and justice in the world. He helped to change the world. He brought attention to the world that it was unfair for blacks to be treated this way.
We believe Martin Luther did good to change the world.